The airline industry has always been ruthless and a great place to lose your money. Richard Branson said it best: if you want to become a millionaire, start with $1 billion and launch a new airline. Suffice it to say, running a successful, money-making airline is no easy feat. Yet, for over 20 consecutive years, Panama's flag carrier, Copa Airlines, has maintained an impressive track record of profitability, all while its closest competitors have faced bankruptcies and restructurings. Today, we'll discuss what has made Copa so successful for over 2 decades as we fly from Panama City to Bogota, Colombia on its smallest and rarest aircraft, the 737-700. Right from the start, geography has been instrumental in Copa's growth and overall success. Its home nation, the Republic of Panama, is strategically located within 5 to 7 hours flying time of almost every major city in the Americas, making it the perfect place to set up an airline hub. As such, Copa has played a huge role in bringing the world to Panama. It is and will continue to be a major employer in the country and even advertises free stopovers, which I took advantage of. If you're flying between any two cities via Panama City on Copa, you can add a stopover in Panama for up to 15 days for no additional charge. Given that my ticket was between Chicago and Bogota, I elected to take a 2-night stopover in Panama. I didn't have that much time, but I was able to visit most of the main attractions in Panama City, including a visit to the Panama Canal. Of course, there is more to Panama than Panama City, and there is a small domestic flight network served by Air Panama from Marcos Helabert Airport, just a mile west of the city center. I was glad to catch one of these Fokker 50s, as Air Panama only has 2 remaining that are soon to be retired. And soon enough, we are back at Tocumen International Airport, the hub of the Americas, to continue our journey south to Colombia. Given that I was technically on a 2-day layover in Panama, my outbound trip was still ongoing. Thus, I was able to check in online without needing to verify any documents because that had already been done in Chicago. Despite having a mobile boarding pass, I still decided to print a physical copy, which was easy enough. And speaking of easy, security and passport control were extremely efficient with 0 lines, and I cleared both within 5 minutes. We're in Terminal 2, which officially opened in 2022 to supplement the existing Terminal 1. As Copa grew its fleet, it needed a larger and more modern facility to better support its growing hub operation. Tocumen itself is a very efficient hub, in part because this is one of the few airports in the world where connecting passengers do not have to clear transit security. The only other airport I've seen this at is Istanbul, but that's only true for passengers arriving from specific countries. Panama City's central location puts it within 5 to 7 hours flying time from nearly every major city in the Americas, as I said before. That means that apart from being the perfect place for a transit hub, all of Copa's routes can be operated on narrow-body aircraft that don't require an absurd amount of range. Thus, Copa has historically stuck with an entirely Boeing 737 fleet with very few exceptions. Having such a simple fleet composition contributes to lower costs because it's easier to coordinate maintenance and spare parts, and you don't need to worry about training crews across multiple aircraft types. Because of this, Copa has been able to keep its costs low while still practicing high aircraft utilization and perfecting efficient hub operations in Panama City. And that's another point. Copa's business model has always been about connecting the Americas and the Caribbean through Panama City, and also promoting Panama as a destination itself rather than a transit hub. Copa has never tried to venture into other markets like long-haul routes that require expensive wide-body aircraft, or risk losing money on domestic routes it hasn't flown in 40 years. Copa has simply stuck to the strategy it knows has been successful in helping it make money. I will say though, sometimes I can't help but wonder how different things would have been if Copa had wide bodies. Take this as an example. Copa operates multiple daily flights to some of South America's biggest cities, namely Santiago, Buenos Aires, and Sao Paulo, among others. These 3 cities specifically are served anywhere from 6 to 7 times daily, and some of those flights depart within literal minutes of each other. And that makes me wonder, would it not have made more sense to instead operate 2 to 3 daily Boeing 787s on routes like this, instead of 6 or 7 737 MAX 9s? This afternoon, we're flying to Bogota on Flight 413, departing just 18 minutes before the next departure, Flight 411. Bogota is a short route from Panama and is served up to 10 times daily on Copa and a further 4 times daily by Avianca. Our flight departs from Terminal 1, and given both terminals are connected airside, getting between them is pretty straightforward. You'll notice the rotating soccer jersey of the Panamanian national team as World Cup fever was in full effect. Unfortunately, Panama finished at the bottom of its group despite a well-fought effort and exited this World Cup as the only team that didn't score a goal. Connections between terminals in Panama City do require a decent bit of walking, but luckily there are also airside transfer buses. Terminal 1 is clearly not as nice as its newer counterpart, but there is still an abundance of retail and food options. I did also notice that Terminal 1 was kind of more neglected in the cleanliness aspect, as it was clearly much dirtier than Terminal 2, which was apparent as soon as I sat down at my gate. The plane spotting in Panama City isn't too exciting, but you will see some stuff that's not Copa Airlines fairly often, such as this cargo jet 757, this Uniworld cargo 737-300, and from Venezuela, this Rutaca 737-300 heading back to Barquisimeto. Now onto the theme of profitability, Copa recently posted its financial report for the first quarter of 2026, in which the airline posted a net profit of $212.5 million. Since becoming publicly traded in 2005, Copa has turned a profit almost every year. Yes, the pandemic hit Copa hard as it did any airline, but after a brief period of losses in 2020, Copa was almost immediately back to turning a profit by 2021 as vaccines began rolling out and countries began reopening their borders. Another ingredient to Copa's continued success is its on-time performance. It has consistently ranked as the most punctual airlines in the Americas and one of the most punctual worldwide. In the first quarter of 2026, its on-time performance was 91.6%, one of the best in the industry. By continuously being on time, Copa avoids unnecessary costs that might result from delays or cancellations, like passenger accommodations and potential compensation. Copa continues to use its strengths in simplicity and strategy to grow further. Back in April, it placed a new order for up to 60 new 737 MAX aircraft, a deal valued at $13.5 billion. From this order, Copa has the flexibility to choose between the MAX 8, 9, and 10, which it hasn't yet decided. With the current fleet of 119 aircraft, Copa aims to add more than 100 new planes by 2034, taking it well past 200 aircraft. The Latin American market is growing, but when you look at South America as a continent, international air travel, especially between its countries, remains rather expensive. I wonder if, just like how Copa operates various Fifth Freedom flights within Central America, also known as milk runs, it could do the same in South America. Just one way to increase connectivity for the continent, and maybe even help make flying cheaper there. Something I do want to praise Copa on is its communication. Whether it be delays or gate changes, I was always receiving email updates as soon as they happened, which I appreciated. This flight was booked as a 737-800, but as you might come to find on Copa, aircraft changes to other 737 variants, especially on the shorter flights, are pretty common. I found out the morning of my flight that we'd be on the 737-700, which is not only the smallest plane in the fleet, but also the rarest, with only 9 active examples. These are also among the oldest planes in the fleet, and with newer MAX aircraft coming in, they will gradually be retired in the coming years. Needless to say, I was happy to fly something other than the 737-800, and boarding soon commenced without issue. This afternoon, I'm seated in 22A, and the seats overall are comfortable with adjustable headrests. Now on the outside, Copa's livery might look just like United, but on the inside, the seats look just like American, with literature pockets at the top, personal device holders, a tray table, and a smaller seat pocket.
Las 6 salidas de emergencia de este 737 están marcadas con señales de color rojo y blanco. 2 puertas en la parte delantera, 2 ventanas sobre las alas y 2 puertas en la parte posterior. Localice las 2 salidas más cercanas a usted. La salida más cercana puede estar detrás suyo. Todas las puertas están no conectadas a la aeronave para recargarla durante todo el vuelo. For safety reasons, it is forbidden to place portable external battery power bank in the overhead compartment. Take it with you under the seat in front of you, or in there's pocket in front of you to make it accessible. We kindly ask you to not use it during takeoff or landing and do not connect.
los pasajeros, bienvenidos a Bogotá. La hora local, 5:24 de la tarde. Dear passengers, welcome to Bogotá. The local time, 24 minutes past 5.
While I have been to Aruba before, which is geographically in South America, this was my first time on the proper continent. This ticket cost just under $674, which is honestly way too much for an economy class round trip between Chicago and Bogota, but I explained why it ended up being this much in the previous video. Overall, a great short flight on Copa. I will say my seat was definitely broken in some way because it kept reclining back on its own, but for this short flight, it wasn't too big of a deal. Copa Airlines and Colombia have a fun history together, which we'll get into in the next episode. But for now, welcome to the second busiest airport in Latin America. The arrival process into Bogota wasn't too bad. There were no lines at passport control, and after some quick questions, I was stamped in and cleared customs without issue. I sure could not wait to get to my hotel, and so we'll end off here. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and I really hope you found this video interesting. Until next time, nos vemos y adios.